During my first attempt at being a hospice chaplain, I was intrigued by a speaker coming to Kansas City named Darcie Sims. Her book title, Why Are the Casseroles Always Tuna? A loving look at the lighter side of grief, drew me in. This morning, I discovered I heard her speak October 5th, 2001. Wow. 3 weeks after 9/11, when our whole nation was grieving together, I got to hear Darcie Sims talk about grief. It was also 2 weeks after my brother died. I'm glad I took a lot of notes because I was too numb to hear it at the time. During one session, Darcie talked about changing the language of grief. As I just reread my notes, I realized how much she influenced the language I still use. Another session was for caregivers and hospice workers called Creative Coping, First Aid for Burnout and Compassion Fatigue. One teaching that might enlighten your experience today was about stress. Darcie said, stress isn't a thing or a person, it's our response to a thing or a person. And guess who's responsible for how we respond? She said expectations are the major source of stress. Stress is the distance between what you expect and what you experience. How realistic are you about your expectations? How many of your expectations come from the voice of another who shoulds all over you? How much do you have compassion for yourself as you care for others? An experiment you might try is this. First thing in the morning, write down what you're worried about. Write all your worries, but put each worry on one index card or slip of paper. Put them all face down, then pick one. That's what you get to worry about today. Carry it with you and give it the worry it deserves. Act on it. The rest you let go today. Some people mail the rest to the best worrier they know. Some read Matthew chapter 6. Some put them aside until the next morning. Darcie Sims taught me that when her son died 25 years before, it was most helpful to her when people just did anything. What was least helpful was when they asked, "What can I do?" Ask yourself the question, "What can I do?" and then do it. For some, any action is more helpful than having to answer a question when they're overwhelmed with decisions already. Today we see pandemic poverty and rampant uncertainty all around us. Many of us are stressed in new ways, but we don't face food insecurity. As we see the suffering of so many in our community right now, here's something you can do about it. You can't do everything, but you can do something. This Saturday from 10 to 2, you can participate in our church's Give Thanks 2020 food drive. You are invited to drive by the church with 20 pounds of food, 20 cans, or $20 to the Central Missouri Food Bank. You can even invite 20 friends to participate. You can volunteer to receive the donations as people drive by. You can help set up or clean up. Let's make the line of cars at our church on Saturday from 10 to 2 longer than the COVID testing line as we turn our grief, our stress, our compassion into concrete acts of love.